I would like to thank your department for the work they have done in East Toledo, which usually East Toledo does not get looked at for development. But as far as the Cleveland Cliffs project in the Marina District, what is the progress that has been made so far in the Marina District as far as those new apartments and Cleveland Cliffs coming into Toledo?
Well, if you've driven by, you see that ground has been broken.
I bet you he has not driven by.
He has not driven by. If you have walked by, bicycled by, you will see that progress is coming along. And I think, Mary, you probably even have more information on it than I do, and you might want to talk to the group about it. But no, we're very excited. We see that as an opportunity for housing, for retail, for office, and for a significant amount of jobs being brought in the construction of those projects, as well as the operation once they're completed. So we're very excited about that. Yes, sir.
I'm James Jefferson, by the way.
Yes, sir.
We've been doing a lot. I work out at the Jeep plant. We've been doing a lot of volunteerism out here in the community through United Way. We partner with them, and one of the things we've been doing as well is going out through American Red Cross, doing the smoke alarm installs and things of that nature. And I was amazed. We did an install last week for a lady, and exactly what you spoke about. I mean, she got pretty much a brand new house. She got a new roof, new windows. Her neighbor got, and I had never heard of this program before, and she got me excited about it. You know, so again, applauding the city, and you know, I've been listening to the mayor over this last year or so, and of course, Jaden's my son, so I know he kind of got on him on you know, a couple of different occasions. But I tell you, the work that's being done around here is absolutely amazing. So I mean, I'm always talking about it. I always tell people, I said I will continue to have a house in Toledo. I'll probably retire down south, you know, but I would definitely keep a house here. But these programs, and that's everybody that I see that I'm telling them about these, but if I can get some information about that. Absolutely. Even with the smoke alarms, I'm telling them when we do the installs, I'm telling people, hey, let other people know that it's a free service, which is awesome. So, and we recently did our bed shakers, which is for people, of course, that are deaf and can't hear. And that, what we do is wired through the smoke detector. So if there is a smoke, you know, a fire, it shakes their bed. So there's just so much great programs. And we're honored to be a part to get out here in the community. And we're driving by parks I never knew existed. They're beautiful, they're clean. I couldn't be more proud. So, and that's, you know, I have nothing to gain. Yeah. But I just want to let you guys know the great work that you guys do.
I appreciate that. And that's a great example of the kind of partnership we're looking for. Is 99, and it's a proven statistic, the majority of the housing programs, the housing rehab programs, I can advertise all day long, but the majority of the applications come from word of mouth connection. When you do Miss Sally's house, she's going to tell Miss Betty, and she's going to tell her church members, and that's how we get these dollars out for the community. So we really appreciate you supporting that. Anyone else? A couple in the back. Yes, ma'am?
The Adams Street properties, where the deal was made with the city, that if they didn't make money, they didn't have to repay. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's done. How many more of those are in the pipeline? And is it going to be a continuing policy that deals like that will be made?
Every deal is an individual.
No, that's a yes or no. That second part is a yes or no.
No.
Will deals still be made where if an entrepreneur loses money or does not make money, the city eats it? Is that still a policy?
It's never a policy. It is a deal-to-deal negotiation. Is that there's not a standard policy that says, yes, we will allow you to make no payment. That is not a policy. What it is what is it the best, what is the initial contract that was written with that propriety, that development. Many of those contracts, all of those contracts predate me and predate the current administration. So what we have to do is go in and look at them and say, is this legitimate? What is best for this community? To get this into the hands of a much better, much more invested, and much more concerned owner, or to allow this particular owner to continue. So no, I'm trying not to be evasive, but that's the truth. I'm being very truthful with you, is that there is no specific policy on what we do or don't do on those. Each one requires a very intensive analysis of the cash flow and the impact on the community.
Great tap dance. How many are in the pipeline that are written like that?
Of the early, if you're looking at what you consider in the pipeline, if you talk about projects that the city had invested dollars in. Many, I would say we probably have about 30 some. But the question is, what kind of money went in? There's a variety of different funds that go into housing projects that the city may have invested in. Depending upon the flavor of money, it is going to depend upon what their obligation is to the city. Some kinds of grants, such as home dollars, require them that even they must be maintained as low to moderate income housing for a specific period of time. Most of them are up to 20 to 25 years. That will always require those, regardless of what the ownership change may be, they must still be made available for those persons in the low to moderate income range. So each negotiation is very different depending upon the funds that go into it.
Oh, you dance so great. Mr. Mayor, I have a gift for you.
Okay.
Oh, no.
After that intro, I don't know if I want to open it.
Yeah.
No.
Was it an apple?
This
Is this like from Snow White?
No.
Oh, it's a tomato.
You finally brought development people, so this is the unthrown
Tomato.
tomato.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Wonderful.
Can I throw it at Amy?
That's right.
You want to clean up your own mess?
I will.
Are there any other questions?
Thought this was
I saw
about the health
another
challenge.
hand. Rose?
When you said for the windows and doors to low income, what is low income?
Depending on the program, our lead program, first of all, it has to be,
I want to start with the positive before we get to the negative.
Okay.
But the first positive is that Toledo recently came up on a study, and it says that millennials are starting to move towards Toledo.
I saw that.
So after the construction of those apartments on the riverfront, they say that millennials are going to look for more of those spaces, but they're also going to look for spaces in warehouses that are being turned to living spaces.
Sure.
They may want to work downtown in urban areas. So what do you have to say about that study?
Well, I saw that study too, and I was encouraged by it. I don't put a lot of weight in these are rankings, because even while Toledo has scored well in some recent rankings, 2 years in a row, we're ranked 3rd in the country in economic development for cities our size. The ranking you're talking about, which I think Toledo was maybe 4th in the nation for places that millennials were. There was one that just came out it was in the Blade yesterday. It was in the authorized Blade yesterday. I think we're 8th in the country in terms of some sort of what was it?
Underrated.
Underrated vacation spots. So those are all wonderful, but you never know. Next week there's going to be one where we're 50th in the prevention of scurvy or something ridiculous.
Because it's easy to say that we're good at this.
So that's why I don't put a lot of stock in those rankings, but it's good. It's good to hear confirmation of what I think what we all know is happening, and that is that there is a renaissance in the downtown part of Toledo, led by primarily millennials who want to live in sort of an urban, dense, walkable environment. And we know that, and that's why it's happening. And that's great. We need to take that momentum that's happening downtown and make sure it makes its way out into the neighborhoods. And until that happens, Toledo is not going to be the place that I think we all want it to be. So, yep, progress is being made. Millennials are a big part of it. And so, even before that ranking came out, I kind of knew that Toledo was a place that millennials were attracted to, because I can see it in the way economic development is deployed in our community. And that's great. It's got to come to the neighborhoods next. So I'm told there's a negative question coming now.
Yeah, there's always the negative and the positives.
It is.
But I want to. Here's maybe another one I consider positive, and some could be negative for others who are against things like this. But the first marijuana dispensary was opened in Toledo, Rise Toledo.
Yep.
And you say that this is going to be good now that it's legal and it can heal people.
Yeah.
So, are you still standing by that?
Oh yeah. I mean, here's my position on that. I mean, look, we are all a product of our experiences. I was raised by a cop. Okay. There's no question what my formative years taught me about, drugs and, marijuana. There's no doubt what my dad, who was the police officer, expected of me and my sister. And so I get it. I guess I would also say the world is changing, all right? The world is changing, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube on some of these things. I think that we are now talking about a legal product, and at least in Ohio, we're talking about a product that is being sold for medical purposes, all right? So, look, I'm not a scientist here, but I am told and believe, having researched it, that there's something about the chemical makeup of cannabis that can uniquely help people with, for instance, Crohn's disease or other digestive disorders, certain tremors and seizures that appears to work. I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but my point is it's a legal product now. Whether it should be or not, we've crossed that Rubicon, but it is. And geez, if you're struggling with Crohn's disease, if you're struggling with seizures and some of those problems, I would want to have as many health options as possible. And some of those health options could be conventional, but if this can help someone, I was in that the place. It has to be the most regulated videoed building in Toledo. Okay, I mean, when you're in there, it feels like you're in a doctor's office, actually. It sort of smells like a doctor's office. I know the chief of police and the fire chief had to personally go out and inspect it, personally. No underling. They both personally had to inspect that site as the state law requires to make sure that there's protections in place. You can't enter any room in that place without a code. I mean, look, change is hard. I get it. This is hard for me.
Yesterday, a retired Toledo police officer had pled guilty to possession of a stolen firearm. So, what do you have to say about that and the department and what is being done now to make sure that officers who have handled guns or dangerous weapons don't get those in their hands?
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you. That's a great question. Yeah. Obviously, as a police officer, I feel that it's a terrible thing. All right, it's a letdown for all the brothers and sisters in blue. Never want to see it. All right, we try to hold ourselves to a high standard, and so that's disappointing that would happen. We have taken steps to make sure this does not happen again. We're doing a bunch of upgrades in our property room, verifications in our property room, the number of officers that are witnessing the disposal of weapons. So we have taken a bunch of proactive steps to make sure this does not happen again.
I knew it was going to be you first.
So my first question refers back to the alley cleanup. So
Yes, sir.
They said they're going to clean every single alley by the end of this year.
I said
So that is a daunting task, I would say. And how are you going to complete that?
We're going to complete that, period.
You heard it here first.
Because I know Councilman
Period.
Uvagi says it's hard for people to, if they don't have a driveway, then they're parking in the alley, and you can't navigate it because of the holes, and then the debris, and then the water that fills
What
up.
has happened in the past is we've had crews not so much dedicated to alley cleaning, but assigned to alley cleaning. This year, we're making sure that those crews are staying on task and working map to map. Before, we were working complaint by complaint. We were missing things in the middle because some people just didn't want to call it in, or they weren't worried about it, or whatever. So this year, we have it scheduled, map by map. We're not saying we're going to be here on this date and this date and this date. We're just going to work from top to bottom. And we're going to make sure that we get every single alley in between. On top of that, if you go to our city's webpage, we have an interactive map there, shows the schedule, and shows where we've been.
Yeah, I think that covers it because I know a lot of people who have, had to deal with this, and I know that progress has been made, but, it's not, you haven't got them all, but that's the commitment by the end of this year.
Like I said before, all we have to do is just start. And that's what we've done this year.
Inspection requirements and so forth. Yes, sir. I'm scared. I'm scared of that question.
First, I would like to applaud the Toledo Fire Department for their training for mass casualties.
Oh, thank you.
So, what goes into the mass casualty training?
And actually, I gotta do a shout out to our police officers too, because we do all that together. We just had, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was a long day yesterday.
Yes, it was.
We had what was called active shooter training. What that involves is everything from the police making their entry to engage the shooter, to then our firefighter paramedics going in with a team of officers that then protect them so that they can provide care to the people who are injured or shot. Because what the data has shown is that unfortunately the people who have been injured in those type of situations, they die because they didn't get immediate care. And the reason they didn't really get immediate care is because there weren't EMTs or paramedics that made entry into the buildings after these incidents occurred. Because the police are doing their job, they're trying to engage the threat. So now with combined efforts, we're going in together to, the police will clear an area of the building and we go in with a police escort and we tend to the wounded that way. And yes, this is a new thing for us. But it's a communication thing that we've got to work with each other to understand how to do that better and more efficiently, because unfortunately, I hate to seem like a doomsday sayer here, but the way society is now, it's probably not an if, but it's a when it happens, and we really hope it doesn't happen anytime soon in our community. So.
And Take It Off Toledo started today, which is a health initiative.
Yes.
What does Toledo Fire think that some of the benefits are going to be out of Take It Off Toledo and these calls that are relating to health?
Well, as you mentioned that, we talked about almost 90% of what we do is EMS in nature or medical in nature. We are getting involved in a lot of preventative things when it comes to health care. We're partnering with a lot of the agencies in the community that already have initiatives like Take It Off Toledo, which is a city initiative, and everything from cancer to diabetes to all kinds of things. We actually have our people involved in a lot of that preventative health care that's going on in the community. So, thank you.